Welcome home, family and fellow citizens of the African Order. I'm here with another video, and this is an update on the Ahmaud Arbrey case. It's really is so much going on that's affecting our people that I'm going to speak on that a little bit later on. But right now, I'm gonna focus on Ahmaud Arbrey. You know, it's funny to me how all these videos of his prior police encounters keep popping up, you know, on social media. You know, what are the intentions behind this? How are these videos being archived? And if they're being recorded by the police and no charges or no arrests have been made, why are they being stored? You know, what's the real reason these videos are being released? I believe that it is to contaminate the jury pool, because white people need justification for what they do. And a lot of times it's not, especially in the black community, it's not what happened at that moment. They always dwell into the past to show that this guy is not a saint. You know, he wasn't an angel. He had a couple of encounters with the police. But somehow, even though that has nothing to do with what today's issue is, that justify him. You know, if Gregory McMichael's attempt to stop Ahmaud Arbrey was valid and could stand on his own, why are they releasing these videos? If you stop him, shoot and kill him, everything that he did in the immediate should be all the justification you need. Y'all are releasing videos that's been on file for over 2 years. This speaks to me of desperation, because if you are white and you're a police officer and you own and control the judicial process, you control the police department, you control the evidence gathering instruments, why do you need to release videos 2 years prior to this? You know, white people think that Ahmaud Arbery's past justify his death. I look at it as Ahmaud Arbery's past justifies a murder conviction, because see, white people operate on opposite ends of the spectrum. Whenever there's an incident, you ask a white person something and you ask a black person something, we usually talk on both opposite ends of the same scale. That's just a given. They see things their way, we see things our way. Whenever they look at incidents around this case, they see reasons for exoneration. When I see things surrounding this case, I see reasons for incarceration. I see a proof in the history of prior encounters with Ahmaud Arbrey that are violent, that show the police harassing this guy. You know, he's sitting in the park, minding his own business, police stopping him, walking out of Walmart, police stopping him. And then now you finally have an ex-police officer, Gregory Michaels, spotting him come out of a construction site on a home that's being remodeled. And all of a sudden, a planned, coordinated attack is put in place. You're not going to tell me that Gregory McMichaels, who was a law enforcement officer in the area for over 30 years, did not have prior knowledge of this guy. Did not know anything about these prior attempts to arrest Mr. Arbrey. This shows personal history. This also takes me back because they was bringing up the Trayvon Martin case, and this takes me back to Trayvon Martin when George Zimmerman sat in the car as he watched Trayvon Martin walk across his vehicle, and you can hear on the 911 call where he says to himself, he's thinking out loud, "These guys always get away with it." It's something personal. You see in your mind black people getting away with crime, and because you see a black guy in your neighborhood that you don't know, you automatically assume he's up to no good. So you go off and pursue him, get into a confrontation, shoot and kill him. Much like this case here. Well, Jonathan, he was inside the home that was being remodeled. Okay, well, evidence has been presented that there was people coming in and out of that house on the regular. People coming out of the house all the time. But you heard no 911 calls from Gregory McMichaels. They was not pursuing nobody else but Ahmaud Arbrey. So why is it that when this black man come out the house, he leaps into action, but everybody else walking through the house, nothing is said? But see, and the thing is, what you focus on is what you see, but I try to focus on what I don't see. I try to focus on, not only what I hear, but I try to focus on what I don't hear. And like I say, you don't see no action taken by anybody else when there's somebody white walking through that house. You don't hear nobody else calling 911. But you do see a coordinated effort to chase and pursue Ahmaud Arbrey. Brian Williams says that when he saw McMichaels chasing, going after Ahmaud Arbrey, he immediately started pursuing. For what? Because this was a planned, coordinated effort. You're going to and then this was going on, like I say, for 4 minutes. So one man coming out of a home, jogging, launches 911 calls, a pursuit, you arming yourself and all that. But Ahmaud Arbrey was running from the police for 4 minutes. And nobody called the police saying, "Hey, it's 2 white guys in a pickup truck chasing a black guy." Nobody says anything about that. Even when the man was shot and killed on the street, you heard the release of no other 911 calls saying that they're shooting at this guy. But see, this is consistent to whites' behavior, even way back in slavery days. And I'm going to tie that together a little bit later on. So now you have Brian Williams, who was the third person traveling behind him. His daughter has been caught, well, not caught, but shown to be posting pictures of Ahmaud Arbrey on death on her Instagram or Snapchat or whatever it was. And that's, to me, is sickening. Why would but it's like I say, it's consistent with how whites behave. And then yesterday they announced that Brian Williams was arrested because, like I say, this was all a coordinated attack. They planned this from jump. And now, how I tie white behavior today back into slavery days is when you had blacks that was trying to struggle or fight for freedom and trying to escape. You have slave catchers pursuing them. But nobody white, all these so-called good white people, never opened their door to offer refuge for our brothers or sisters. They had to travel all the way north. Now, plantations were large areas of land. You know, back then you had to travel some distance to get from one home to the other. A runaway slave could have ran to the closest plantation or closest farm from his plantation. You had so much distance in between, it would have been impossible for a slave owner to go from house to house that's miles apart from each other to find them. But yet, they had to run all the way north. Just like these white people today, you watching this black brother running for his life for 4 minutes through the neighborhood. And now one of you opened your door and offered this man refuge. Now one of you called the police. Now one of you tried to intervene and stop him. When you look back in slavery days, you see them taking pictures of the corpses after blacks have been lynched. Them setting on fire, cutting body parts off. What you may not have paid attention to is all the white people, how they cram themselves together, trying to get in the picture. And they're taking photographs. You don't see one white person looking in horror as you see a human being on fire. You don't see one white person covering their mouth and nose from the smell, from the stench of a human being being burnt alive. You don't see no children shrieking, like, what is that? Not one of them. You see them all, big smiling faces. They happy. They all cramming together, trying to get in the picture, trying to take this moment and immortalize it, so they can run home to their friends and family and show them as proof and evidence that they were there. Where were you when they was lynching the white, when they was lynching the black guy? Why wasn't you there? Look what you missed. They showing these photographs. Now you got this MF Brian Williams' daughter taking the same pictures, posting them on Snapchat of Ahmaud Arbrey laid on the ground dead. So now, when all these social media sites, when the anniversary of the day you posted this thing pop up a year later, it's going to remind you once again. If whites were that way in the past, and they're the same way now, what hope do you have that they'll be better in the future? There is none. This is proof, evidence that from slavery 500 years ago to today, whites have evolved mentally not at all. They maintain the same level of mentality for the last 500 years. They're incapable of growing beyond their savagery. And if you think I'm being extra with this or hyperbole, just look at the media. Breonna Taylor, you have in Kentucky, home, sleep, 1 o'clock in the morning. The police busting in her door. Boyfriend opened fire because he hear him outside. They calling 911. They don't know what's going on. Busting the door, shoot 25, 30 times into the home, kill this queen right in the midst of her own home. Lie about saying they announced themselves. Neighbors on either side said they heard nothing. Then you arrest the boyfriend for firing back at you, attempting to kill a police officer when this woman is in here dead. With all the deaths associated with blacks and white cops, you would think some type of internal retraining or some type of effort, some type of speech, some type of mandate would have been made or announced that this behavior could not go on. And there hasn't been. This is why I tell my people, have no hope, put no faith, put no trust in living in peaceful coexistence with these people. It's impossible. You shouldn't even need a mandate to alter your behavior when you see over and over and over again blacks being killed by white cops. You would think you would take a personal stance and say, not me, not today. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to continue this trend. But they haven't. They're incapable of doing it. These people are monsters. And we have to accept that and move on. And before I end this video, let me say this. I'm just going to say this one time only. If slavery was 400 years ago, 500 years ago, whatever it is, and today, blacks and whites had equal opportunities in this world, there wasn't the perpetual being last in everything going on. And we had genuine equality in an equitable society where people who had an abundance, you don't have to give anything. Just allow the government or whoever to make adjustments to help those who don't have as much, because you don't. If we lived in a society like that, I could almost say there would be no need for social change organization. There'd be no need for me posting videos. But we don't live in that world. We live in a world that they made for us. They pulled us out of our way of life and brought us into this way of life. But I want my people to know one thing. This is a way of life. White people cannot create the only way of life. We can create one for ourselves. I'm going to end this video here. And with this video, with all my videos, it is for the complete liberation of my people. And I'll see you in my next video. Ashe.